Good afternoon, everybody. It's July 16th, 2026, and we're covering Donald Trump's announcement to America from the White House, and we're going to be reacting to all of it. So, again, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, tune in, and, again, we'll see what he has to say. I think Trump is going to talk a lot about the economy. It's going to be very similar to a lot of his other speeches, but they say it's supposed to be unprecedented. There's a lot of unprecedented information. You're going to hear a lot about the election integrity, everything happening with the 2020 election, all of the results from that, and how essentially perhaps the election might have been stolen. According to Trump, I think that's what we'll hear. We'll hear a lot about the Iran war. We'll hear a lot about all of the other information as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go and what is actually taking place in the country. A little bit of a State of the Union address I anticipate we'll see, and so I think it'll be an interesting statement, to say the least. So again, let's start reacting. And we'll see. Well, we'll see what happens. Is he going to talk about Israel, though? Is he going to talk about how Israel is occupying our country? We already had Laura Trump basically come out and state that apparently all of the statements against Israel is anti-Semitic, and so it's quite ridiculous, right? And so we'll see. We'll hear a lot about the Save America Act, a lot about how we're going to have a lot of illegal immigrants voting in the next election, and you have Democrats have been already coming out basically talking highly against this and what everything Trump is going to say. So again, let's look at some of these videos. So again, we also have the Canadian wildfires as we wait for Trump's statement to start, as we wait for the entire speech to begin, getting into some of the little breaking news here. I live here in Michigan, and these Canadian wildfires have been crazy. It's been absolutely wild when we look at how bad some of these have been. We have a air quality level of like 500 on Apple Weather, and so that's like terrible, basically. I've never really seen it like that. The question is, was there foul play with these Canadian wildfires? A lot of people think so. And ashes are covering people's cars, all this insane stuff. So again, the Canadian wildfires have been crazy. Basically can't see anything out your door. So that's just some breaking news. And then we also have, just before all of this, again, bridge near Kurdistan in Iran's Khamir County damaged, forcing closure of Bandar Abbas Lar Road in both directions. Local sources report major disruption amid escalating U.S. strikes in southern Iranian targets. The incident follows recent American airstrikes on military sites around Bandar Abbas in responses to the Strait of Hormuz shipping attacks. So again, this was a bridge that was essentially struck by U.S. forces, and this is supposed to essentially really mess with the supply chain of the Iranians. So again, as we wait for the Trump statement from the White House, again, he should be starting any moment here, but we're just going through some of the breaking news that has been going on tonight. Again, circling this entire Iran war, everything happening. It's been a lot of crazy stuff. Honestly, who do you think is going to win this? At the end of the day, I think the Iranians are still going to control the strait. I think the war is going to go on, nevertheless. U.S. airstrikes against Iran have begun. Multiple explosions in Bandar Abbas. He may talk about this in his speeches tonight, but ultimately, again, these are just some of the sentiments that have been said. We also have footage of coalition patriot Sam Battery fighting over a major Iranian ballistic raid on Bahrain earlier tonight. So again, this is just what's going over, again, in Bahrain. The Iranians are striking back in retaliation. This has been going on for the past few hours. And so while Trump's going to be giving his speech, all of this is going on 6,000 miles away in Iran, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the war continues. And so safe to say that the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, is dead, I would say. But this is pretty much the breaking news that's been going on ever since this speech. So again, we're waiting on the, oh, here he goes. So Trump is already speaking, so let's tune in. Let's see what he has to say.
Our job-creating businesses. Our stock markets are at their highest point in many years, but we can actually
I expected this.
Of all time.
Stock market's greatest ever.
401ks, pensions, and retirement accounts are setting records every single day, the highest in history. For years, we paid the highest price for prescription drugs anywhere in the world. Now we pay the lowest price under my most favored nations policy because I was able to get the rest of the world and the pharmaceutical companies to act responsibly. Drug prices are coming down by 70, 80, and 90%. TrumpRx.gov, this will ultimately reduce the cost of health care, you have to go to trumprx.gov and take advantage of it. But the cost of health care is coming way down because of what we've done with prescription drugs. And with Trump accounts, every child in America now has access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children so that at age 18, they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life. So for that, go to trumpaccounts.gov and sign up your child or any child who'd like to sign up.
Again, if you're just tuning in, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. What do you think about this speech? What do you think Trump is going to say tonight? A lot of the comment section seems to be pretty split.
With 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Nobody thought it was possible. We had the worst border in the history of our country, and now we have the best. Crime is plummeting nationwide with the murder rate.
At Car and Driver, we tackle the hard-hitting questions. Can the car seat click in on the first try every time? Does the parking camera catch what you don't? Will the back seat survive soccer season and snack time? Because somebody's got to find out.
Always got to be an ad to mess everything up.
To every car.
So annoying. Everything's an ad today. They even give you 2 ads. You can't even skip the ads on YouTube anymore. It's honestly just ridiculous. Crazy.
Now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well, but we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action to protect the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure. One where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that.
Again, this was supposed to be what the Save America Act protected against, but again, we also have the NDAA, fiscal year 2027, the H.R. 8800 bill that's stopping a lot of that. It's basically allowing the U.S. military to merge with the, again, Israeli military. So 2 different bills all in one. People aren't liking it so much, according to the comments.
And really exposes, like, levels never thought possible, to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people. But that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings. We are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out.
We'll definitely look at those once this is over.
Our purpose in disclosing this information is not to weaken confidence in election, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. And that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data.
What about
in
Israel?
History, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote. and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China has signed a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people.
I wonder if he's going to mention Dominion voting systems.
Our intelligence agency worked to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling, covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that, tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for
I don't think China's behind this. I would honestly bet that it's Israel any day, based on the info we know.
They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country. A standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my first administration and our 2020 campaign. They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win, and for good reason. As the documents
That's crazy that he's blaming China, because I never even remember China being in the equation. Like, I've looked at all the conspiracies, and nobody ever talks about China having anything to do with it. It was like Israel, it was all these different countries. And so it's really weird to hear China all of a sudden as the culprit here. And again, Israel plays both sides.
President's votes and make him resign or prevent his re-election. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining domestic confidence in the U.S. president. They wanted to just make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job, and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says...
Again, the founder of Dominion Voting Systems, you might want to look up who that is and exactly where he comes from. You'll be shocked to know. Israel.
To influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them, charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs.
I mean, to be clear, there's no doubt in my mind that absolutely the election was stolen, like completely. I remember watching it the entire night, and all of a sudden, like 37,000 votes are just literally handed to Biden within a minute. That makes no sense. Mail-in ballots are total fraud. The entire system. You're giving driver's license today to all these illegal immigrants. It absolutely makes no sense. And why do you think that is? It's so that they can vote.
Buried by rogue bureaucrats stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of importance. One email among intelligence analysts admitted that they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another
Trump is being so misled by the Howard Lutnicks and, again, the Steve Witkoffs, all these people around him. Just totally misled. Jared Kushner. Which side do they play on? Again, they work for Israel.
And to keep it away from the
I think Trump does, too,
press.
these days, honestly.
Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceive the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level.
That's true. I remember
different
this.
People incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. We believe this was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that was supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice,
Tulsi
the
Gabbard's
FBI,
role.
and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security
that's true.
of our election infrastructure, including
Been that way for a long
electronic
time.
voting machines and ballot counting systems. Dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups,
Not
have
Israel?
the capability
At
to
all?
compromise U.S.
Come
election
on.
infrastructure.
I had a
That's
feeling he
unquote.
would never say anything
That's
about
some
Israel.
statement.
$250 million from Miriam Adelson. Okay. Marco Rubio received, again, how much, like what? How much money from Sheldon Adelson? We have, again, half of our Congress who has been paid off by AIPAC. No mention of that. They had nothing to do with it, right?
Registration databases, poll books, and other official election websites are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use this access to these systems to disrupt election processes within the United States of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings, and spanning from January 2020 to June 2026, this is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela. And that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not.
You got to say it, Trump. Dominion voting systems.
No matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that.
Yeah, that's right. United States of Israel. That's true. Absolutely. Trump won't talk about that. He's not going to mention Israel and how they were behind pretty much all of this. They fund both sides.
Evidence of fraud has been detected. It has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures tonight are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan.
Yep,
In 2020,
I remember
Michigan
that too.
State Police
I live in
raided
Michigan.
A Democrat
Oh,
Get
yeah.
Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon.
Totally corrupt.
And we're so concerned by what they found. They were just so concerned. They couldn't believe it, actually.
He needs to talk about Detroit and Flint, too. super corrupt locations when it comes to voting. I remember their city council mayors just literally bragging about how they stole the election.
Signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it. Tonight, I'm asking the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed and active.
That's also true.
On the voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have.
See, he won't talk about Israel, though, and how they played a major role in this. And even in the comments section, you got people, like, bragging about it. It's just crazy. People know what's going on. And, again, people want the Epstein files released, but we won't hear about that. And, again, I love Trump, but at the end of the day, we got to hear the truth.
Others in the media are part of a plot. They want to continue this fraud for whatever reason. They want to keep it going. They want to protect the radical left. They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses.
He's absolutely right, though.
They use our public multi-billion-dollar in value airways for absolutely no money.
He's 100% right, though. Like, we have the most rigged election system ever. Like, that's not even a lie.
They pay nothing for multi-billion-dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country. Our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Every American, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or otherwise, should be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, really, we should be together. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody. And it should not be a partisan issue.
It would be, again, while it's an ad, Trump would be 100% right when he says that these are stolen elections, and that's absolutely happening. The problem is Trump isn't talking about how, again, it is Israel who is behind these stolen elections, and they play a major role, but he's blaming China, he's blaming Russia, he's blaming Iran, he's blaming North Korea. And again, all of these do play a major role. These same countries absolutely do play a role in this election fraud, but we still have to be objective about Israel. And he won't talk about that because, again, he's owned by Israel.
ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic
Look at all the
voting
Israelis
systems.
in the comment
They are
section.
bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with those states and local jurisdictions to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections.
So
We
many
have
Israeli
very
flags in the
important
comment
elections
section. That's
coming
just
up.
wild.
We want those elections, to be honest.
Yeah, somebody said Trump is a Jew. Yes, Trump is a Jew. He converted to Judaism in 2017. That's absolutely a fact.
Remove all ineligible voters from the lists immediately. But most importantly, addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your
That's not
candidates
wrong
are so
necessarily.
pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way.
So many Jews in
This
the chat.
landmark
It's wild.
bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt.
Yeah, Spencer Pratt totally would have won, by the way. And California's so corrupt. That was totally another stolen election. 100% true.
Illness, disability, military
Who do you think was
deployment,
behind
or
that?
travel if you're going away
China.
on business
Yeah,
or
right.
vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to stop the vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together, we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better.
See, we want the Save America Act to pass, but if it passes, it also passes with the NDAA, the H.R. 8800, again, Section 219, which allows the U.S. military to fuse with the freaking Israeli military. That's completely insane. It can't happen. And again, Thomas Massie tried to push a bill for this, and it got completely wiped.
Trump giving his prime time address to the nation. He is releasing, his administration releasing declassified documents related to election security. A couple of main points here. He is alleging that China interfered in the election by collecting American data, alleging members of the deep state are suppressing information on China's alleged election meddling, and saying that the Department of Homeland Security says there are 278,000 non-citizens in American voter rolls. Of course, the president touched on several other topics there, starting out his
I
speech
guess that's it.
talking about the
That's all
economy
this was
off
about.
the very top, touting administration wins, also crime rates being down, wins at the southern border. He also is saying that this speech in regards to election security is not to weaken confidence in the election, but to confront vulnerabilities in the system. You also heard the president there call on Congress to pass the Save America Act at the end of his speech. That speech there by the president in Washington, D.C., coming to about 27 minutes this
Pretty short
evening.
speech. So again, that was the speech from Donald Trump on, I honestly thought he'd talk about more. It was literally just about the election results. Kind of crazy. That's what it was all about, basically to blame China for the entire speech, and I think it's insane. Honestly, we never hear about Israel. We never hear about how Israel did any of this. We never hear about how, again, Israel was behind it. He never mentioned Dominion voting systems. Doesn't really get specific about it. Very vague. Didn't really give a lot of evidence behind just his own statements. And so he wants us to go to whitehouse.gov. So let's go to that. we'll actually look at what's there. And we'll see if anything even pops up. Unchanging objectives, drive decided says. So where do you even find this? Gallery, Save America, investments, contact. Where do you even find it? That's crazy. Yeah, I don't even know where to look. Point being, he never said anything about Israel. Trump never said a word about Israel. Israel did nothing wrong. And it's just like, come on, we need the truth. Don't forget, the truth is that Donald Trump is Jewish. And Donald Trump did convert to Judaism in 2017. Donald Trump is owned by Israel, right? We have the Epstein files, which pretty much incriminate Trump in many different ways. And again, I like Trump. I voted for him 3 times. But at the end of the day, it's like our country is being really held back because the entire Republican Party is owned by Israel. Okay? So it's like, again, listen to what Laura Trump had to say about this. And again, I'll get to more news about the Iran war here in a moment. But listen to this clip from Laura Trump and what she really had to say about this. So again, check this out.
The scary part of all of this is that the argument you're hearing right now out of D.C. is, oh, we don't want to give financial aid in the same way to Israel. But what's happened is this sentiment is spreading like a virus, and it's not just about financial aid. Marcus, to your point, it's about anti-Semitism. And we've seen so much of this take hold and take root in our country in really frightening ways. I mean, you talk to Jewish New Yorkers, they're terrified to walk down the street with this.
Oh, the poor Jewish New Yorkers. Oy vey. Oh, the poor Jews who are rich and they're doing great because Trump gives everything to Israel.
Star emblem on their necklace, or to wear a yarmulke, or to show who they truly are. That's not.
Remember, his wife, Laura Trump's wife, Laura Trump's husband, Eric Trump, literally said that 80% of Trump's administration is Jewish. So why would Trump ever say that Israel had everything to do with Dominion voting systems, rigging, basically funding both sides? They have a lot to do with all of this, and we never heard anything about that. We didn't hear anything about Israel at all, and you never will. And that's the truth of the matter, right? It's always going to be, if you question Israel, you're an anti-Semite, which I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm a Catholic, so obviously I believe in Jesus Christ, and who was allegedly a Jew. So how could I be an anti-Semite, right? But at the end of the day, it's just like, it's disgusting to see what's happening to America. America is completely occupied by Israel. Trump talked about how we need to pass the Save America Act, when, the Save America Act is literally bundled in with the National Defense Authorization Act and H.R. 8800, Section 219, which it basically fuses the United States military and the Israeli military and really gives them control over several different industries, AI, private sector, all these different industries which basically dominate the entire country. And so you notice how in the comments section on Fox News, where we were watching the stream, you had all these pro-Israel. You had Israel flags all over the place. Why would that be? And why would Trump say nothing about Israel? Why would he say nothing about, the NDAA, H.R. 8800, which is clearly the greatest national security threat to this country? Well, it's because he's owned by Israel. And so a 27-minute speech, not even 30 minutes. And that's all we heard. We didn't hear anything about the Iran war. We heard about a great stock market, all this stuff. But again, then you have Laura Trump, again, his daughter-in-law, who's basically saying how, if you question Israel at all with all of this, you're an anti-Semite, which is absolutely just so un-American. Israel first, and that's what's going on in America today.
Erica, what are we doing? Don't forget that it was 85 years ago this sentiment spread around the world. Look at what happened in Nazi Germany. It's not that far off to think that we're heading down a path that is frighteningly close to what happened there. So while you have these people saying, this is about financial aid, it is so much bigger than that. You're right. They don't know why they're championing Palestine. They think that's part of the bandwagon.
And then if you question Israel at all, you get put in this group of, you're just a pro-Palestinian. You just believe in the Muslims. It's like, no. Actually, real Americans and real Christians, we condemn the genocide happening in Palestine, yeah. But at the same time, we want America first. We don't want Israel first politicians. We don't want politicians who are owned by Israel because of blackmail and things they did 20 years ago because of what Mossad has on them. Right? I mean, it's our entire Congress. Mike Johnson and, a lot of the things that happened with him. He's the Speaker of the House. And you have so many members of our entire political system. They're all deep state. Marco Rubio completely bought off by Sheldon Adelson. And then if you say anything about that, you're just called an anti-Semite by the Trumps. And so it's like, who does that tell you the Trumps are working for? Israel first, not America first. So they want the Save America Act passed, which would be good because you will get freer and fairer elections, allegedly. However, it would also basically allow for a Zionist regime forever in the United States because the Israelis would then basically occupy our entire country via the NDAA. This is why the Democrats mostly basically voted completely, entirely against the Save America Act. One, they don't want free and fair elections. That's true. Trump's right about that. Democrats are total communists today. I mean, they want to open the borders. They want to let 100 more illegal aliens into this country. That's all true. They want to literally make this into a communist country. That's all true. But we are already in a communist country because Israel is everything goes to Israel. All the money in our government goes to Israel. And if you say anything about that, you're called an anti-Semite by Laura Trump and the Trump administration. And again, who surrounds Trump? Who is advising Trump? Well, it's Howard Lutnick. Well, it's Jared Kushner. Well, it's also like, again, what's his name? Steve Witkoff. You have all these people who are basically surrounding Trump, giving him this bad advice, and then people who are, again, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who is literally, again, a major enjoyer of the entire Israeli money that's being given to him by Sheldon Adelson. And then Trump, $250 million for Miriam Adelson. So it's absolutely crazy. And then you have these statements from Laura Trump. If you're an anti-Semite if you question Israel. You're a pro-Palestinian if you question Israel. Why can't we just be America first? And why can't we be against Israel taking over our country when they give us nothing in return? And why can't we also be against the Muslim takeover, which is also happening across the states? Who is letting all of these Muslims into our country, by the way? They're all Jews in power. That's just a fact. You can't argue that. And then so this is all just propaganda and a misinformation campaign. Our country is occupied and Trump is compromised.
And they're supposed to be on because all the people on TikTok and social media told them to go that way. This is something that we need to take seriously. Israel being our closest Middle Eastern ally has...
I hate hearing that. Like, everybody's so sick of hearing that because Israel is not our closest ally. They are not our greatest ally. Israel is not our greatest ally. They give us nothing in return. We give them $318 billion since 1946, billions of dollars a year, really, basically. 100 millions, doesn't matter. It's probably even worse than that number today. And that's just the number Google will tell you. So again, this year alone, we've given like so much money to Israel. And now we want to combine the U.S. military and the Israeli military. I think that's crazy. What are we getting out of that? Nothing. Israel is getting everything out of this Iran war. We're getting nothing. You're getting nothing out of it. Is there more money in your bank account? I don't think a lot of people are really enjoying this. I don't think a lot of people are benefiting from this war. And I can certainly tell you, based on the gas prices, based on everything that's happening in America today, all of the laws that are passing, 14th Amendment passing, all this stuff is happening because these Israelis are occupying our government. We need a real crusade, and we need America first. We want a Christian country, not a Jewish country. And it should be very clear, and that should be exactly what's talked about. Instead, the Trumps are all owned by Israel. I don't even think they want to be Jewish. I think they basically have no choice. Again, Trump converted to Judaism in 2017. Ivanka Trump converted to Judaism. Ivanka Trump is married to Jared Kushner, who is Jewish. I mean, again, Eric Trump admits 80% of the Trump administration is Jewish. We have a Jewish president right now and an administration, and they're giving all of our money is going to Israel and to build this greater Israel project. And Americans, taxpayers, getting nothing. We're paying for a war in Ukraine to happen. And then Laura Trump calls you an anti-Semite if you say anything about that.
Allowed for stability in the world. We can monitor terror groups. We can keep our adversaries at bay because we have this incredible intelligence sharing with them. We do not want to lose that. This is a dangerous spot.
You are so right that this is more than financial aid because, Kaylee, I watched Prime Minister Netanyahu on Sunday say, we're winding down U.S. aid. There's a plan.
You're so right. Like, these people are just puppets, just sock puppets, honestly.
And to get entirely away from U.S. aid.
Get that cross off your neck. You're not a Christian.
Israel's a very self-sufficient country. It's not about aid. It is about anti-Semitism.
Okay. So it's all about anti-Semitism. Israel is a sufficient country. Yeah, they have a great stock market. They're perfect. They don't need to be making more money from us. They don't need our money. They have a great stock market. They are completely independent of the United States because of all the money we've given them for decades and decades and decades and decades and decades. They're fine because we give them all of our tax money. Yeah. And Israel needs to literally go down, because if it wasn't for the United States, Israel would not even exist. These people wouldn't exist. They would have no power, no control, and they shouldn't have power or control. Why? So they can do the same thing that they're doing to the Palestinians, of whom they lived with since 1947. And what makes the Trump administration think that the Israelis are ever going to treat us the same way? Or what makes the Trump administration think that the Israelis are going to treat us as good neighbors? They're not even fighting in this war. We're fighting their entire war for them. Trump admitted that. He said, we're not fighting this war because we need to. We're fighting this war for Israel. We're fighting this war for Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia. He admitted this. And I posted a YouTube short on it. So again, for all these fake Christians with their cross necklaces who truly don't believe or understand what the Christian religion is, these are all Zionist Christians with very low understanding, and they believe everything is about anti-Semitism. It's like, no. Questioning Israel does not make you an anti-Semite. It makes you an American, because you don't want your country to be occupied by another foreign nation, and that's exactly what's happening. So again, we are being taken over by the Democrats and the Muslims and these communist things. All of that's true, but we also have the problem of basically allowing these Israelis to be overrepresented in power, and they're taking everything from us.
Large part.
So again, these people are just total sock puppets, totally occupied, and they have no ability to be honest or independent about what's actually happening. Because again, look at what's happening right now. Moment Iranian drone blows up U.S. military battery to bits in Kuwait. So again, this happened tonight, right before Trump's speech. So all of this is going on as we're being told how, we need to have secure elections. And okay, that's great, but that was in like 2020. And here this is happening, and more U.S. troops are going to die in this needless Iran war. Needless Iran war. They say it's to make sure Iran never has a nuclear weapon. Well, Israel has 200 nuclear warheads. So why are we really pretending like Israel's not a problem? Israel sold all of our nuclear secrets to the Russians. Jonathan Pollard. But we don't talk about that. Israel literally is the reason that USS Liberty happened. We don't talk about it. You're not allowed to. You're an anti-Semite if you do. Israel probably had a lot to do with Charlie Kirk, but we're not allowed to talk about that. And you're a fool. You're an idiot. You're a Candace Owens. And she gets attacked for admitting the truth. So all this crazy stuff is going on. Our country's completely occupied. This is a true operation on our entire administration. All these boomers are pretty much occupied. And they're taking money from AIPAC, and they love the money they're getting, and they don't want to let that go. And they don't want to lose power because of it. Trump wants to die and basically die on the ashes of America. And again, I love Trump, too. I really do. I think he, in many ways, has done great things for America. But at the same time, it's like he's allowing our country to get taken over by this extremely hostile nation who wants to literally change America into a Jewish country when we are a Christian country. And look at our country now. Now you have all of these countries hating America because we're doing this and we're bombing schools with 150. Again, this just happened today, and they tried to censor it. Like I don't know if it happened today, but I saw something on X. It was like 150 Iranian school children completely bombed, killed. And again, nothing happens. They tried to wash it from the media. And so it's like all of these nations hate America today because we are literally occupied and owned by Israel. It's absolutely obscene. It's absolutely obscene.
He is talking about Iran, and there's new information just coming out within the past few seconds. Jennifer Griffin putting out that this is a new phase of the escalating military strikes, the sixth night, based on various reports and
why?
Sources. The U.S.
We really should be at war with Israel right now, and if anything, we should be treating Israel as an adversary, as a competitor. We should not be integrating with their military so they can again have a pager operation where they explode everybody's devices and kill everybody and our entire political Congress. Obviously, they can do that if they did it to Hamas. Why would we ever want to be allied with a nation like that? Why would we want to be allied with a nation who believes that Jesus Christ is burning in hell according to their Talmud? Okay? So it's just like this is completely false. They say that Christianity wouldn't exist without Jews. Yeah, well, a big part, it kind of goes both ways, dude. Without the Christians, you wouldn't have Judaism, okay? Both of these things kind of fulfills the entire story, all right? When Christ came to our world, He basically was here to wake up the Jews because the Jews were committing human sacrifice and animal sacrifice. And Christ and the apostles basically completed the new covenant, which was that if you believe in me, then you will know my Father in heaven. You will know me. You will know the true God, and I will accept you into my kingdom. Literally, this is the real New Testament. And so when they rejected Christ, the Jews admit this, his blood be on us and our children. That is a scripture in the Holy Bible. They admit that they killed Christ. They condemned him to death. They would argue that, no, the Romans did it. Well, yeah, it was the Jews and the Gentiles who killed Christ technically. But it's just like the real story is that the Jews condemned Christ to death. They said, crucify him, and they chose Barabbas to survive over Christ. And then they rejected Christ as their Messiah. He was the Jewish Messiah. And so when they rejected him and killed him, their chosen status was taken away. And this is also a scripture in the Bible. Even in the book of Revelations, Revelation 3:9 says, I will make him of the synagogue of Satan. And basically, those who say they are Jews but are not Jews and do lie. That is Revelation 3:9. You are seeing it all today. This is a psychological operation. And the real red pill is that Israel occupies the United States of America. And so you are fighting a war with Iran, this country who we really should have nothing to do with. And one of the reasons we're getting all this migration from Muslims today, and one of the reasons we are getting all this basically occupation of our country from two sides, the Muslims and the Jews in power, and then the Muslims coming over here in enclaves and droves, building mosques in rural communities. All of this is happening because they're working together. And the Jews created the Muslim religion, by the way, as a counterforce to the Christians. And the Christians are sitting here in America, Christian Americans, the real Americans, are sitting here in America getting hit from two sides. And so we're the bad guys. We're the anti-Semites because we call them out. Well, again, Jews were kicked out of 109 different countries. Okay, this has to be noted in history. This already is. It's well documented. And what you think that's like a kid getting expelled from 109 different schools. The principal would eventually say, well, it's probably not the school. It's probably more the kid. And so this is what's going on. So today we're fighting this war with Iran when it benefits us zero.
And it's significant because it cuts the IRGC off from resupply and isolates them. Bandar Abbas is
ridiculous.
Controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Many strikes tonight, again, from our Pentagon and National Security correspondent. So, a lot happening in Iran. Let's bring in our panel. Hugh Hewitt, Fox News contributor, Olivia Beavers of the Wall Street Journal, and Robert Wolf is also a Fox News contributor.
Look at all these sock puppets.
Hugh, I want to start with you and the significance of what we're seeing of this escalation on its sixth night and some of that news about the IRGC being cut off.
It's very significant, Brett, and I'm glad the president is going to focus on Iran, at least in part, and I hope mostly the majority of his speech is focused on the fact that we are in a combat situation right now.
And it didn't. Trump never talked about hardly any of that. It was literally just 27 minutes of the election was rigged, the election was stolen, we won the election, it was China the whole time. Yeah, look on whitehouse.gov, find the documents, find the information. Yeah, it was also the Russians, it was also the North Koreans, which is true partially, but he forgot about one country, and that is Israel. He forgot to mention Dominion voting systems, which again, deletes the entire trace of Israel having anything to do with this. But who founded Dominion voting system? Who is like a big part of it? It is Israel. And so none of this is being talked about, and this is the real truth.
He takes to the airwaves in about an hour or so. There will be American pilots almost certainly in the skies over Iran and over
This is all propaganda.
There are a score of Navy ships enforcing the blockade. We boarded, as was said earlier in the broadcast, a vessel that was trying to run the embargo earlier tonight. I think it's vital that the president keep that in mind, that American servicemen and women are in harm's way when he's on the air. So whatever.
Yeah, so all propaganda, in my opinion. We're not getting the full truth out of any of this, okay? So China might be the most important Oval Office address since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Well, it was only 27 minutes long, and we didn't see any charts. We saw no real evidence. And again, although he's right, the election was stolen in 2020. That's a fact. I remember seeing it. I mean, there's no denying that. That was stolen. And again, we saw it. Like, I saw it. I remember the election. Trump was winning. And then at like 1 something in the morning, 2 something in the morning, I don't remember exactly the time, you see like 37,000 votes immediately just jump up to Joe Biden. Look at the chart. It makes no sense. And then again, I had people in my police academy who really believed that, yeah, Biden really won. I think he really won. Like, complete idiots. Didn't believe anything. And, didn't do any research on what actually happened. But again, the election was stolen. And again, if you read the book Spy Fail, you see that, again, it talks a lot about North Korea and their infiltration into our entire political systems, our computers, all of our election systems, voting systems, all of these things. So that's all true. But Israel needs to be mentioned because Israel's a major part of all of this and a major piece of this puzzle. And so Trump won't mention that because he's working for the Israelis. And I think Trump is Jewish. 2017, he converted, right? Like, you can look it up right here. Trump converts to Judaism. Let's look it up. You'll find the videos. They really tried to wipe it, but it should be here somewhere if you look hard enough. I have the footage if I can't find it here. Yeah, you're not going to find it right away. Trump converts to Judaism, 2017. And so when we look at this footage, when I do find it, and I will find it, they really try to wash this. They will not keep this. And again, we're going to go back to that quote too. Somewhere I will find this. It's going to be difficult to find it. They really hide this on Twitter. They make it extremely difficult. But this is all going on. Still looking. They put it way down in the algorithm. You really got to look. Yeah, they totally wash it from the algorithm, so you can't even see what's going on. It's amazing how they do not want people seeing that. It's pretty crazy. So I'm going to try to find it in my files here. Downloads, or is it desktop here? Desktop. Where is it? I have the footage. I was able to dig it up the other day. Just got to find the right one. Previous 30 days, David Goldberg. Where is it? Found a lot of interesting stuff here. Can't find it in my files at the moment. But if you keep digging, you'll find the footage of Trump literally visiting the wall. Trump converts. I will find this before I leave this. They make it so difficult to find. Trump Wailing Wall. Let's try that. Yeah, I can't find it on X. They really try to hide it, so you can't even find it. No, it's up. It's here somewhere. Trump Jewish Wailing Wall. Ah, here we go. So again, right here. First thing that popped up. I'm surprised Google even allows you to see it. So after this ad, we'll be able to see it. But Trump literally converted. And there's actual footage of them saying that he converted.
Just let me stop by saying we see President Trump there wearing a skull cap, a kippah, in fact, as it's known in Hebrew, being taken to the Western Wall by the ultra-Orthodox rabbi in charge of the location.
This is what they don't want you to know. They never want you to see this video. They obviously make it pretty hard on X.
Such, explaining the importance of the wall. What is also very interesting for viewers is the fact that he's actually standing with his wife, because men and women are actually separated in front of the wall, and clearly we can see that they're not right in front of the wall. They're quite a few metres back in a general common area, and as I was saying earlier, this is an area almost crammed.
And there's so much footage of Trump in a kippah, and he's just like, again, look at his entire administration. Trump's entire administration is Jewish. Again, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, Stephen Miller, huge a part of this. Project Pogo, Project Zephyr, all admitted by David Goldberg before his death, before he was killed, in my opinion. But again, Donald Trump is, he's known about this for many, many years. And he's been a part of the entire puzzle for a long time. And this is the red pill. This is what they don't want you to know.
Controversies just depending on where you're physically standing in Jerusalem. In this case, in the Old City, I mean, this cuts really to the core of a lot of those outstanding problems. If they ever, manage to get, and Donald Trump says it's his express purpose to try to get both the parties back to the negotiating table, right? We've basically had the Israeli-Palestinian peace process completely dead in the water, completely stalled.
So they won't say that he converted
totally
in this video.
In 1914. There's been no
but
real
he literally
direct
goes
contact
to the wall. visits the wall and everything.
How long is he expected to stay at this location?
Hundreds of years
right here.
Put their hands there and prayed there, and he is doing that. Normally when people who are not the President of the United States go, it's very crowded. It's been completely cleared of people so that he can have this private moment of prayer at this site that is holy for Jews. And so we see his wife on the other side, her hands also on the ancient stones. We see the President of the United States putting a note in the wall. This is something that you do, a note you write for God, a wish that you have that you want fulfilled.
Hashem.
The last time that we saw an American president do this, before he was the president, when he was just a candidate, Barack Obama did this, and someone then found the note, took it out and published what he'd written. So they are hoping, they say, that won't happen, that this private note will remain private between Donald Trump and God.
Now, this is the first ever serving American
There's Jared
president
Kushner right
to
here on the
visit
left.
the Western Wall, or the Kotel as it's known in Hebrew. And of course, as you pointed out there, Iris, security being a primary consideration, primarily because it's overlooked by the Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa mosque compound, of which, of course,
doesn't
that
look like
has
a Holy
been
Bible, does it?
location for many clashes between Israeli troops.
No, you note that Donald Trump is also a Freemason.
And Palestinians. I imagine the whole of the old city is in lockdown as we speak, Iris.
By the way, does Trump look Jewish at all? No. He doesn't even have the nose. And not to be anti-Semitic in that way, but typically based on facial features, you can tell, curly hair. You'll typically have that long hooked nose that typically is a sign of Jewish heritage. And again, that's just DNA. We're talking about genetics. We're not talking about we're not making fun of Jews. But, you know, he doesn't even look Jewish. He's got blonde hair, blue eyes, German. And again, a lot of this comes from the mother being Jewish. No. Trump has none of that. His dad was partially Jewish, and that is what Trump has said before. And so this is what they do with a lot of U.S. presidents. They bring them to the Wailing Wall, and it's kind of like a rite of passage. Some people call it a humiliation ritual. I would consider it like a rite of passage with our country, because our country has been occupied by the Israelis for a very long time. Look at the way Congress is set up in the seats. It's like set up like a menorah. Okay, you have the seats set up in a hooked way, just like a menorah. And it's very interesting. So our country has been occupied for a long time by these people. So this is the real red pill.
The whole of the old city is in lockdown, and in fact, Donald Trump and his party opted to walk from where they were along a route that they had erected 8-meter screens along that route so that no one could see them, all stalls closed. All people who live there either inside their houses are actually told to leave. And along that route, we saw CCTV footage of him in splendid isolation, something you never see because people actually live in the old city. There are always, even at night, people scurrying home along those ancient paths. And of course, there are tourists and pilgrims. Today, completely empty, in lockdown, so that if anything goes wrong, they're there on site, because
there's Trump signing that's Trump signing America away.
Just briefly, I noticed just a couple of minutes ago, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, was right at Donald Trump's side. Was he sort of there in an advisory role? That's sort of unusual as well.
I think we've seemed to have lost Iris Makler.
Ooh,
Iris,
that question. They didn't like that question. You weren't supposed to ask that.
Are you able to hear us?
I can just hear you. For some reason, I've lost some of the sound.
Right. Doug was just asking there about Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, who was at his side as he came down for that briefing.
These guys are the real men in black.
Indeed, that's an unusual thing. I mean, was he there as in a personal capacity, or was he there as an advisor?
I would suggest he was there perhaps as both, but certainly in a personal capacity. Jared Kushner is an observant Jew. This is the holiest site for Jews in the world. I was going to say in Jerusalem, but also in the world. So if you have the opportunity to be at this place with your father-in-law, you would take that opportunity, I think, just for yourself. Also for you to touch the stones, also for you to pray there. So he's there definitely in that capacity. He is Jewish. His father-in-law is not. So he's also there as an advisor.
Oh, that's what they say.
As an explainer. He has
Trump
rabbi,
is in fact Jewish.
He has his son-in-law by his side, just to.
Remember what Mark Levin said? This is the first Jewish president. The first Jewish president. And Trump said, "It's true. It's true." He literally admitted it. He admitted it. And people say, oh, that's not true. Well, it is. It is. You've all been lied to. And again, this has been in the cards for a long time. There's so much of what's already been happening in this country. So much of what's happening today has been planned for about 15 years. And people don't like to believe that. But think about commercial real estate. Even commercial real estate is planned for about 7 years out. And you think 7 years out when you're really investing in commercial real estate, right? You're thinking about 7 years in the future. And so, of course, it's not hard to plan something 15 years out. And so everything you've seen, you wonder how The Simpsons predicted everything correctly when it came to Trump, right? Honestly, how do you think that all works? Seriously. I'm editing a video right now, but we'll just go to it real quick because it has pretty much what I'm looking for. And it's a part in part of this interview, David Goldberg literally admits it. So let's go to CapCut here because this is where I'm in the middle of editing this video. I'm going to release it soon. I'm almost done with it. But this is an interview from David Goldberg, who, again, was killed or died, allegedly just died. We won't say that he got killed, but it's very interesting. So, again, right here, just in the spot. This is the man who's basically at a podcast. He died around, I think it was 2019.
So we'll see if that happens or not. It sounds ridiculous. I can't imagine him actually saying it. But maybe he will do something like that. We will look out for that in the coming months.
So just wait.
Based on my reading of the classified documents and the memos, so much of what is going on is planned.
Look at that.
Giving people the impression that
about 15 years before all this happened.
But it's actually the opposite. It has been planned. Donald Trump's allegiance is to Israel. He's not only a Jew, he is a Freemason. They have promised him his daughter, the sons, will enjoy very high-level ranking within the world government that they are forming. The capital, which will be
They
Jerusalem.
don't want you to know this, but it's true.
So that is why Trump is so dedicated to following the script, while performing the way that he does. It appears to be very authentic to his followers.
Again, right here even. Eerie predictions that have come true. One last thing to leave you with. Goldberg's testimony about the information he received regarding Donald Trump specifically is too accurate to ignore. Here are a couple of predictions that have come true very shortly after the video was made. Thank you to Wayne Allen Root for the very nice words. President Trump is the greatest president for Jews and for Israel in the history of the world, not just America. He is the best president for Israel in the history of the world, and the Jewish people in Israel love him. Like he's the king of Israel. So he proclaimed himself the king of Israel. They love him like he's the second coming of God. Again, Messiah. The Jews believe that Trump is the Messiah. They've said this. A lot of rabbis have said this. But American Jews don't know him or like him. They don't even know what they're doing or saying anymore. It makes no sense, but that's okay if he keeps doing what he's doing. He's good for all Jews, blacks, gays, everyone. And importantly, he's good for everyone in America who wants a job. Wow. So again, Trump literally admits this. So again, I'm releasing that video soon, but it just goes to show how much your government is really controlled and occupied by ulterior motives in so many different things. Everything that you've been seeing over the past 15 years has been planned.
The scary part of all of this
is so if you know about it,
and
if you talk about this little secret, then you're called an anti-Semite. But this is the truth they don't want you to know. This is why in Trump's election speech tonight, this 27-minute speech, he mentioned everybody else but didn't mention Israel. And that's my issue with Trump. And so Trump is owned by Israel, again, whether it be by blackmail or by will. But from what we know, Donald Trump loved the idea. He was approached a long time ago for this role to basically carry out the Greater Israel Project and basically to allow the Israelis to take America at the same time as well as all of this. And he loved the idea. He loved the idea of the press, the media, the attention. And again, I like Trump. I like the cut of his chin. I think he's tough. I think he's a fighter. I think he's a leader. But at the same time, he sold out America for whatever reason, whether it be by blackmail, whether it be by money, whether it be for different reasons of not wanting to go to jail for certain things. Again, the point is we're all being conned and lied to. So this is like the red pill, what they don't want you to know. And this is why you will never hear Trump truly talk about this issue. Again, breaking 2 hours ago, American helicopters, drones, and surveillance aircraft targeted by IRGC in the 11th wave of attacks on bases in Bahrain, says strike in retaliation for enemy attacks on urban infrastructure and innocent people. Warns any miscalculation of IRGC capabilities will bring heavy costs. Then Democrats were not happy about Trump's speech, obviously, on CNN. So again, listen to this video.
Exposing Israel's...
So this is like an actual Jewish man in this video who you're about to see that this kid ends up playing this video of. And he admits that everything Candace Owens has been correct. Now, take it with a grain of salt. Okay, ultimately, you have to go based on your own research and knowledge. A lot of, I don't really trust anything that the Israelis say because a lot of what all they really do is lie, typically on record, right? We do have to admit that there was DNA evidence of Tyler Robinson involved in this Charlie Kirk shooting. Yes, Lance Twiggs, absolutely. But at the same time, there was also another bullet found on a different rooftop, completely separate from the rooftop that Charlie Kirk was shot from, allegedly. Okay, based on the evidence. And so, we also have this Israeli, though, who comes out and says this.
This Israeli soldier may have slipped up on an interview and released crucial details exposing Israel's plan for this war.
Ooh, who do you think Jeffrey Epstein worked for?
Israel?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, bro, he's a Jewish. He's Jewish.
Yep.
And he's Jewish. He worked for the Mossad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
Now that's true.
Literally, that's it. They are...
That's true. That's all verified in the Epstein files. If you go on the Epstein files, you read the Epstein files, you're going to learn all about it. You learn all about it. Basically, people just have to read it. Go on the DOJ website. Read all the emails. Epstein's admitted it. Steve Bannon was in there talking to Epstein how he wants to be a good honorary Jew. Steve Bannon is bragging about how he wants to be in the club. And it's crazy. This entire organization, Ghislaine Maxwell, these people were all Jewish, and Trump was one of them. And this was a Jewish country club, a secret society for the Jewish people. This is a fact. So, again, this Israeli even admits that Candace Owens was right about everything in regards to Charlie Kirk, Jeffrey Epstein, all of this.
Literally knowing for blackmailing people to do what they want, and I'm not they can't get, I can't get arrested for that because it's literally a fact. Do you watch Candace Owens?
Yeah, I've seen her before, yeah.
That's it. That's what you need to know. Bro, I'm Israeli. I live in Israel. I know what's going on. Just watch it. Everything, literally everything. Bro, I swear to God, I swear on my nephews and, nieces, as a Jewish who's living in Israel, everything she's saying is true. About Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, Epstein, Israel. Literally everything. She is so fucking right. And I hate when people treat her as such a maniac or she's not, bro. She was pro-Israeli. Actually, she was very pro-Israel. Very.
So again, that's an Israeli soldier literally admitting that Candace Owens was right. Now, you can also say that the Israeli soldiers, of course, this would be part of a disinformation campaign to throw people off, to make people confused. But I've read the Epstein files. I've seen the emails between Jeffrey Epstein, again, Donald Trump, and all of these other people involved, Ghislaine Maxwell. And he's talking about how basically the Goyim have no brains and how this is how the Jew makes money through shipping and basically deception, all of these things. So, all of this is true that Jeffrey Epstein was a Israeli spy. He was a Jewish spy. He was collecting blackmail and information on government employees and all of this stuff, basically to control. This is how you control a country. And all these people like Trump, you make certain decisions in your life, in your early life, you're making money, and you get blackmailed, you get put on camera, all these things get revealed about you, and you don't want it coming out. So you do what they say, and you stick to the script. And so you've seen that other countries who don't follow that script, well, probably those leaders don't really have a lot on them, So that's really what we're going through right now. And as much as I love Trump and I like his bravery and I like his courage, I like what he has done for America on a lot of different levels, he's lying when he's saying that he's putting America first, because he's not. Again, there's so much going on. Even Polymarket, down to Polymarket, owned by the Israelis.
Let's go back to July of 2003.
Let's watch this.
So, of course, Polymarket is a CIA Mossad psyop. Let's go back to July of 2003. Admiral John Poindexter's Information Awareness Office at DARPA unveils a highly secretive project called the Policy Analysis Market, or PAM. Developed by a Caltech researcher named Robin Hansen, PAM was supposed to be, quote, a market in the future of the Middle East, and would have allowed trading of futures contracts based on possible political developments in Middle East countries, including terror attacks. But amid public backlash against this idea of betting on death, the Pentagon agreed to cancel the program a few months before its planned launch. So I think it's fair to ask, is there more to Polymarket than meets the eye? The truth, we just learned in Whitney Webb and Mark Goodwin's The Secret History of Polymarket, is that Shane Copeland, the founder, didn't just build a multi-billion-dollar empire out of a bathroom with no industry connection. No, in fact, Copeland was actually in direct communication with Robin Hanson, the principal system architect, if you remember, who designed DARPA's failed terrorism futures market. And if you dig even further into Copeland's past, you find out that his first project was a company called Token Union. But interestingly, Goodwin and Webb note that Token Union is absent from nearly every media profile of Copeland that has been written since Polymarket's meteoric rise, and also never mentioned by Copeland himself. They say that one of the reasons why Token Union has seemingly been erased from current narratives about both Copeland and Polymarket may lie in Token Union's close partnership and integration with Bancor, a decentralized finance protocol enabling on-chain trading and liquidity. Now, Bancor was created by Guy and Galia Bernartzi, the nephew and niece of none other than longtime and current Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You knew that this is where the story was eventually going to end up. Additionally, Galia Bernartzi, immediately prior to creating Bancor, had been a partner at Peter Thiel's Founders Club, where she helped lead the firm's investments in Israel. And get this next part. Sitting right next to Netanyahu's nephew and niece on Copeland's advisory board was a man named Lou Kerner, a prominent venture capitalist heavily embedded in the Israeli tech ecosystem, a startup scene that former Mossad directors have openly stated is heavily populated by intelligence veterans running front companies for state operations. And that's where we are, just a string of coincidences, I'm sure, that an NYU dropout in his early 20s gets in touch with the direct architect of the canceled DARPA terrorism market. He then founds a company with the nephew and niece of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, with an advisor on the company tied to a venture fund for Israel's 8,200 intelligence veterans, and receives tens of millions of dollars in funding from the Peter Thiel network.
Yeah. And Peter Thiel is Jewish. And again, the founder of Polymarket, again, Jewish. So you have to look at all of these different connections. This is the way things are really created. So the ultimate propaganda that I would call it counter-propaganda that ended up being true was this. It's kind of woke me up. The classic Groyper, you could call it, clip, because it just kind of reveals everything. So you have the little frog thing. It's going on the internet, sees the 9/11 World Trade Center. Then he starts reading about the New World Order. And this is how the process goes. Then you learn about JFK Kennedy, as above, so below, the esoteric New World Order symbolism, the all-seeing eye. Again, learn about the Freemasons, Bilderberg, planet Saturn, which is what the Jews worship, the Talmud. And then again, you figure out that this is all an operation basically made to deceive. And again, what is the motto of Mossad? By way of deception, thou shalt create war. So everything you're seeing has been planned for about 15 years when it comes to everything. Look at this question when J.D. Vance is questioned about Israel and how much our politicians are influenced by Israel. Look at what he says. He doesn't have an answer.
Israel, do you think that Israel is affecting American political judgment?
He can't even answer the question.
I mean...
And he's funded by Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance.
Do you think that...
He also has an Indian wife and an Indian child, and Indian children. And so who do you think is going to let in all those H-1B visas? It's going to be J.D. Vance. So again, U.S. forces struck a key Iranian road bridge tonight connecting Bandar Abbas to other cities further inland, dropping into the Shur River. So again, this is why the Iranians have been retaliating tonight while Trump was speaking, probably why his speech may have been cut short, by the way. National security threat, social media posts showing a group of narco-terrorists stating that the reports on an alliance between the Las Chapitos and the CJNG are true across Mexico. Cartels are uniting against the United States. So this is all happening. Yeah. So let's just not close our borders. And the Democrats, if they were to win, they're going to open their borders to these people. So it's like you really have, it's two sides of the same coins it's two sides of the same coin when you have Democrats and Republicans today. You either get a Zionist-run Republican Party owned by the Israelis, or you get the Democrats who are total communists and foreigners and third worlders who are going to allow our borders to be completely open to the cartels, and then to, again, all of these Nigerians coming in at mass numbers, Muslims coming in, building mosques in your hometown, kicking you out of your church, buying up your land. It's all happening, and it's all part of this Gog and Magog, again, orchestrated by these Jews in power, who, what they call the Kalergi Plan. So this is all very real. And again, who is letting all of these foreigners in overall? Who is at the main helms of these immigration policies? Again, it just so happens to be Jews and prominent Zionists.
That many of the Christians were pushing for.
So crazy. It's honestly so insane. So when we look at all of it, here, this is a priest admitting a lot of, and this is a priest pretty much educating on the history of the Muslims and basically how the Muslims were created by the Jews to attack Christianity and throughout all of history.
Israelis of today are direct, they're not at all the servants of God. They're direct, with some noble exceptions. There are always noble exceptions. But when you're talking about the Jews, you're talking about them in general. In general, they go along with their leaders who want the New World Order and who want to get rid of the old Christian world order. Islam has also been, it came into existence in the 600s and the 7th century. It was very possibly, or probably, created by Jews in order, as an instrument against Christendom. And then sure enough, the Arabs swept through North Africa and destroyed a whole part of Christianity in North Africa. They swept into Spain, thanks to the help of the Jews. It's well known that the Jews opened the cities to the Mohammedans. They took over Spain, to this day. And it took hundreds of years to get rid of them again, to get them back out. They went up into France until they got beaten at the Battle of Poitiers in 732. And again in European history, the Saracens, the Turks, the Arabs, the Muslims, there's various names for them, they've kept trying to get into, they're enemies of Christendom, they're enemies of Christian Europe, and they've tried to get into Europe again and again, and the Jews will each time, most likely, the Jews will have helped them, will have organized it, will have financed it. That's exactly what we see this time. Is George Soros, who's been financing the Arab invasion. They've been organizing, and you have that famous clip on TV of Barbara Spector, the Swedish Jewess. It's a very famous clip, with good reason. And she's apparently ignorant of what she's saying. She says, we Jews need to organize the invasion of Europe by non-Christians so that Europe will become multicultural. Multiculti is an invention of the Jews, surely. And therefore, and that will act to dissolve the identity and vestigial Christianity of the once Christian nations and of the dilution of the once Christian white race. And once the Jews can dissolve the once Christian nations and can dilute the once white race by miscegenation, by mixing of the races, by marriage with other races, once they can do that, they're going to be a significant step closer to achieving their New World Order.
And they believe that through the Kalergi Plan, they will rule over what in their own words, in the Jews' own words, a more brown race, of which they would have control over the white ethnic Europeans and now Americans also. And so that all comes from the Kalergi Plan, the Great Replacement. That is a priest ordained by the Catholic Church to give this message. If your priest or your pastor isn't talking like this, then they're just not awake. They're not focused on what's going on. They're not doing the research they need to be doing. This should be the main conversation, because you've never seen it more than today. You have, again, we've never more opened our doors to third world immigration in America and Europe, to these hostile religions and hostile peoples who hate Christianity. They believe that we are believing in a false idol, which they are the ones believing in a false idol when you really do the research, and I think they know that. The Jews worship money, so they choose to become Jewish. And then the Muslims, again, I think they've just been deceived and misled. And again, I think that the Muslim religion, in my opinion, from my research, seems to be created by the Jews to destroy the white Christian race, so that the Jews can basically fund both sides and they achieve their power. There's rabbis who admit this. So this is what's happening in America today. They don't want you to know any of this. And here we're all going along with our day believing that, everything is just on, just some normal conspiracy. Oh, no, this is happening. So, again, that's tonight's show. Again, America is being occupied by both the Israelis and the Muslims, but the ones allowing these Muslims into America just so happens to be in high positions of power, the Jewish people. And that is a fact. Again, through the Kalergi Plan, the Great Replacement. Again, there have been prominent Jews in power who have admitted all of this, and they're very prominent about it. Go on my YouTube Shorts, and I talk about it. And so, again, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. We got to save America, and Trump, again, I think he's just compromised. As much as I like Trump, as much as I don't want to vote for Democrats, we really need to understand that they're two sides of the same coin, Democrats and Republicans. We need a third party. We need a new awakening, and we need to be Rome again. And we need to remember our Christian heritage, or we're going to lose our country entirely, and it will be bad. It will look like England, the UK, and you will be pushed out. And who will profit? It will be the Jewish people. And the Muslims, they will not profit. In the end, they won't win. It will be the Jews. And so until people wake up, until people are willing to talk about it, until people are not scared of losing their jobs, because all of this information is so prominent now. It's all out there, but nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's too afraid because they don't want to lose their positions of occupation. So we need to save America. America first, or those people should be sent out of this country. It's as simple as that. If you're not America first, if you're Israel first, if you're Islam first, then get out of our country. And that needs to be the message that we send in the future. And we need to fill the White House with people who think like that. We need to fill the future administrations, which the younger generation is already awake to all of this. The boomers are dying. They're on their way out, who defend all of this Zionist nonsense. So our country still has a chance. America still has a chance. Never bet against America. But we are currently being occupied by the Israeli government. And through NDAA, HR 8800, which is morphed in with the Save America Act, that is going to be the end of America, at least for a temporary time. And that will be the merging of the U.S. military and Israeli military. And who knows? Again, look at what the Israelis did to their Arab neighbors with the pager incident. They killed how many leaders of the Hamas military with pager bombs? Who says that they can't do the same thing? All of our iPhones past the iPhone 17e will be manufactured and produced in Israel. So this is what we're going to get. I mean, and again, you have Netanyahu who's saying there's going to be another 9/11 event. And so as all of this is happening, Trump refuses to talk about it. Laura Trump calls you an anti-Semite if you notice it. Eric Trump admits that 80% of the Trump administration is Jewish. All of the signs are there. Trump converted to Judaism in 2017. Ivanka Trump converts to Judaism in 2025. All of this is happening, and there's no avoiding it. You have the Abraham Accords that are being orchestrated and run by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, who are both Jewish. So what is really going on? This is a real estate deal of the Abraham Accords, a new doctrine of Israeli power in the United States. And I think Trump has known about it for many, many decades now. So that's my theories on it, but that's also the research, and that's where the rabbit hole will take you. Who killed Charlie Kirk? Who killed JFK? Who conducted 9/11? Who was behind the USS Liberty? Ask these questions, and who killed Jesus Christ? At the end of the day, it was the Jews. And I'm not an anti-Semite, but this is just the truth. So like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on Monday.